Hey everyone, ready to dive deep into the world of Locked? Released on March 21st, 2025, this film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. Released on March 21st, 2025, Locked is not your average thriller. It's the kind of film that draws you in from the very first frame, suffocating you with tension, pulling you into a claustrophobic nightmare that feels all too real. Directed by David Yarovesky, this American remake of the 2019 Argentinian film 4x4 manages to strike the perfect balance between psychological horror and action, blending suspense with raw human emotion. In a world saturated with action-packed blockbusters, Locked stands out as a truly unique cinematic experience, compelling viewers to explore every detail, every hidden layer, and every unexpected twist that unfolds. At first glance, the premise might sound simple. A thief gets trapped in a high-end SUV after attempting to steal it. But the film goes far beyond that. Locked grabs your attention from the outset with its daring concept. A man trapped in a car, unable to escape, surrounded by high-tech security systems that not only keep him physically confined but also torment him mentally. It's a straightforward setup, but it's precisely how the film manipulates that setup that makes it so extraordinary. From its pacing to the intense performances of its cast, Locked becomes more than just a film about survival. It's a meditation on morality, justice, and the lengths to which one will go when pushed to the edge. At the heart of the film is Eddie, a thief played by Bill Skarsgård. Known for his unsettling performances in films like It and The Devil All the Time, Skarsgård brings a raw vulnerability to Eddie, a character who initially seems like just another petty criminal. But as the story unfolds, we see him evolve, trapped not only in the car but in his own mind, fighting to stay alive, to find a way out, and, eventually, to find some sort of redemption. Skarsgård's portrayal of Eddie is nothing short of mesmerizing. He spends 19 days on screen in isolation, enduring simulated electrocution, starvation, and extreme temperatures. This physical and emotional commitment to the role allows him to deliver a performance that's both gut-wrenching and hypnotic. His desperation and will to survive are palpable, and it's impossible to not feel his pain as the hours stretch into days. On the other side of the coin is William, played by the legendary Anthony Hopkins. A self-proclaimed vigilante, William is the mastermind behind the trap that ensnares Eddie. But he's no ordinary villain. Hopkins plays William with a calm, methodical precision that makes him all the more terrifying. Every word he speaks, every gesture he makes, is calculated to push Eddie to his breaking point. The brilliance of Hopkins' performance lies in the ambiguity of William's character. He's not your typical antagonist. As the film progresses, you begin to question his motivations. Is he doing this out of a sense of justice? Or is he simply a man obsessed with exercising control over another human being? His presence, though rarely seen directly in the physical sense, dominates the entire film. It's the psychological tension between Eddie and William that becomes the true heart of the movie. The relationship between Eddie and William is more than just a cat-and-mouse game. It's a battle of wills, a fight for survival that transcends the physical. Every moment in the car feels like a mental chess game, where Eddie is forced to outwit the systems that bind him, all while trying to maintain his sanity in the face of unbearable pressure. The vehicle itself becomes more than just a prison. It's a metaphor for Eddie's own mind, trapped by his past, his mistakes, and his criminal nature. William, meanwhile, is like a puppet master, pulling the strings from the outside, forcing Eddie to confront not just his situation but his very identity. It's a dynamic that draws you in, making you question not only what you would do in Eddie's position but also what makes a person good or bad, and where the line between right and wrong truly lies. Visually, Locked is striking. The confined setting of the SUV, with its sleek, modern interior and high-tech security systems, contrasts sharply with the raw, primal nature of the story. There's a coldness to the car's design, which mirrors the emotional and physical isolation Eddie feels. As the hours turn into days, the small details, the flicker of lights, the sound of the engine humming, the press of a button, become increasingly significant, heightening the tension. The film's cinematography is masterful in its simplicity, using the space of the car to create a sense of claustrophobia that's almost suffocating. Every angle, every shot, works to remind you that Eddie has nowhere to go, no escape in sight. It's a tightrope walk with every movement, no matter how small, becoming a potential game-changer in his battle to break free. What truly sets Locked apart, however, is how it goes beyond its thriller elements to explore deeper themes. On the surface, the film may appear to be about survival, but it quickly evolves into something much more profound. The tension between Eddie and William is not just about physical entrapment, but about the moral and ethical implications of their actions. Is William justified in his vigilante methods? Or is he simply a man playing God? Is Eddie deserving of his fate? Or is he a victim of circumstance, trapped by the very systems he's tried to exploit? The film doesn't offer easy answers. Instead, it leaves you questioning the boundaries of morality, justice, and redemption. It's a psychological puzzle that doesn't just challenge its characters, but challenges its audience as well. As Eddie's situation becomes increasingly dire, the film ramps up its exploration of human nature. The isolation inside the car forces Eddie to confront his past, his mistakes, his regrets, and the choices that led him to this moment. The film subtly reveals bits and pieces of his backstory, making us empathize with him, even as he struggles to survive. There's a sense of inevitability to Eddie's journey, a realization that no matter how hard he fights, there are forces beyond his control. It's this emotional depth that gives Locked its heart, and it's what keeps you engaged from start to finish. The movie's pacing is another key to its success. Despite being confined to one location for nearly the entire film, Locked never feels stagnant or dull. The tension constantly builds as Eddie attempts to find a way out, and as each of his plans fails, the stakes get higher. There's a palpable sense of time ticking away, and you can feel the walls closing in on Eddie. The film's slow burn style allows for moments of introspection, where the characters and the audience alike are forced to sit with the tension, to experience the full weight of Eddie's plight. It's a masterclass in suspense, using silence, stillness, and small details to amplify the sense of unease. As for the film's cultural impact, it's clear that Locked has struck a nerve with audiences. In a time when movies about survival and psychological tension are more popular than ever, Locked stands as one of the most inventive and captivating films of its genre. It's a movie that doesn't just entertain. It forces you to think, to question, and to reflect. It's a modern thriller that blends action, psychology, and social commentary in a way that few films can. The film's success can be attributed not only to its powerful performances and nail-biting tension, but also to its exploration of complex moral themes that resonate in today's world. In a cinematic landscape full of fast-paced blockbusters and superficial stories, Locked offers something refreshing. An experience that keeps you on the edge of your seat while also leaving you with something to ponder long after the credits roll. It's a film that demands your attention and invites you to dive deeper into its layers. It's a journey into the human psyche, a test of endurance and morality, and a reminder that sometimes the real prison is the one we create for ourselves. If you haven't seen Locked yet, now is the time. Don't just watch the film, experience it. Let yourself be consumed by the tension, the uncertainty, and the moral quandaries it presents. And when it's over, reflect on the characters, the choices, and the psychological torment that make Locked a standout in the thriller genre. This is more than just a movie. It's an unforgettable journey into the heart of darkness, where the only escape is the one you're willing to fight for. The screen fades in, and we're thrust into a dark, rainy cityscape, the kind of place where the streets are slick, the neon lights cast eerie reflections, and every shadow seems to hide something ominous. Locked begins with a quiet tension that creeps up on you almost imperceptibly, setting the stage for the nightmare that's about to unfold. The camera zooms in on Eddie, played by Bill Skarsgård, a man whose rugged exterior hides a mind always calculating, always looking for the next opportunity to make a quick, easy score. He's not a bad person. Not in the traditional sense, at least. But there's a darkness in his soul, a desperation that comes from years of bad choices and even worse circumstances. His world, a place filled with empty promises and fleeting thrills, is about to come crashing down in a way he could never have predicted. It all starts when Eddie spots a target, a sleek, black luxury SUV parked on the street, its windows shimmering in the rain, its polished exterior gleaming like a prize waiting to be claimed. It's the kind of car that screams wealth, power, and privilege. Everything Eddie doesn't have. The temptation is too strong for him to resist. His plan is simple: break into the car, steal what he can, and get out undetected. It's the kind of crime he's committed countless times before, each one more effortless than the last. But this time is different. This time, Eddie is about to make a fatal mistake. As he slips into the car, the doors lock automatically, the lights flicker on, and an unexpected voice crackles through the car's high-tech sound system. It's a calm, controlled voice, but the words it speaks are anything but comforting. "You're not going anywhere." The voice belongs to William Anthony Hopkins, the owner of the vehicle, and from that moment on, Eddie's life spirals into a nightmare of psychological torment and physical endurance. The first pivotal moment hits like a punch to the gut. Eddie tries to escape, of course. He's a thief after all, and his first instinct is always to flee. But the car isn't just a trap. It's a fortress, a state-of-the-art security system that locks him inside and forces him to confront his situation. The moment Eddie realizes that he's been caught in a carefully laid snare, a shiver of panic runs through him. The system is unrelenting. Every attempt to break free only tightens the trap further. The car's windows remain sealed, the doors lock tight, and a subtle, oppressive hum fills the air, reminding Eddie that he's not just trapped in a car. He's trapped in a game, a twisted, high-stakes game where the rules are not in his favor. William, a man whose voice exudes authority, explains the rules of this cruel game with chilling precision. The car is not just a prison. It's a place where Eddie's very survival will be tested. The security system has been rigged in such a way that it becomes almost impossible for Eddie to escape. William isn't just watching him. He's controlling the game, using the car's technology to manipulate Eddie's every move. But it's not just about keeping him inside. William's real goal is to force Eddie to confront the choices he's made in life. This is no ordinary heist gone wrong. This is a carefully orchestrated punishment, a twisted form of justice in William's mind. As Eddie begins to panic, his frustration mounts. Every attempt to break the windows, disable the security system, or unlock the doors fails. The car's high-tech features mock his every effort. But even as the physical barriers close in around him, it's the psychological ones that begin to take their toll. Eddie is alone, isolated, and forced to reckon with the very thing he's tried to escape his entire life: the consequences of his actions. The tension between Eddie and William builds quickly, with the two engaging in a war of words that reveals just how deeply each character is affected by the situation. William, played with an icy calm by Anthony Hopkins, isn't just toying with Eddie. He's trying to break him, to push him to his breaking point. Each message, each command, each small humiliation is calculated to slowly chip away at Eddie's resolve. William's voice remains unyielding, never losing its composure. He's in control, and Eddie is nothing more than a pawn in his twisted game. For Eddie, every minute trapped inside the car feels like an eternity. The confines of the vehicle, with its sleek, futuristic design, are at once comforting and suffocating. The sense of isolation grows, and soon, Eddie is no longer fighting just for freedom. He's fighting to maintain his own sanity. Every flicker of light, every beep of the car's system, every small movement, each of these becomes an agonizing reminder that he's stuck in a prison of his own making. What began as a simple heist has now turned into a battle of endurance, a test of human resilience that forces Eddie to dig deeper than he ever thought possible. The first half of the film is an intense psychological cat-and-mouse game, with Eddie's every attempt to escape met with further entrapment. Each time he tries to break free, the stakes get higher. He's not just fighting for his life. He's fighting for his dignity, his will to survive, and the very essence of his humanity. Every move he makes is calculated, but so is every move William makes. The tension between the two builds to a boiling point, and as Eddie grows more desperate, the audience becomes more and more invested in his fate. Meanwhile, the film uses the car itself as a powerful symbol. It's not just a vehicle. It's a representation of the walls Eddie has built around himself over the years. His criminal life, his poor choices, his endless pursuit of quick fixes. These have all led him to this moment. The car becomes a reflection of Eddie's inner world, a place where he's trapped not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. As the walls close in, the psychological stakes rise, and the audience is forced to confront the same question Eddie is grappling with. How long can a person survive when every escape route is cut off? The film's pacing, too, is a crucial element in building the tension. With each passing minute, the walls close in, and the sense of confinement becomes more oppressive. Every moment spent in the car feels like a slow burn, with no relief in sight. Eddie's frustration grows, and as he tries every possible way to escape, the film forces us to endure that same feeling of hopelessness. It's a carefully constructed rhythm of suspense, where each failed attempt, each new obstacle, raises the stakes higher. But it's not just about Eddie's physical struggle to escape. There's an emotional struggle at play as well. The first half of the movie introduces us to Eddie's fractured psyche, giving us glimpses of the man he used to be and the choices that led him here. We see flashes of his past, his failed relationships, his mistakes, the things he's done that he can't take back. The isolation in the car becomes a mirror for Eddie's inner turmoil, forcing him to confront his demons in a way he's never done before. As the tension builds, so too does Eddie's realization that there may be no escape, not just from the car, but from the consequences of his actions. Throughout this first half, Locked does an extraordinary job of keeping the audience on the edge of their seat. The film thrives on its ability to create suspense through small, seemingly insignificant details, flickers of lights, the hum of the security system, the slow buildup of tension between Eddie and William. These moments serve to heighten the feeling of being trapped, both in the car and in the story itself. We're never quite sure what will happen next, but we know one thing for certain. Eddie's journey is only just beginning, and the stakes are about to get much, much higher. As the first half of Locked draws to a close, the stage is set for even more intense twists and turns. The psychological warfare between Eddie and William has only just begun, and with each passing moment, it becomes clear that neither character will come out of this situation unscathed. The tension is unbearable, and the question lingers in the air. Will Eddie be able to escape, or will he be consumed by the very prison he tried to steal from? One thing is certain, this is a thriller that will keep you guessing until the very end. The second half of Locked intensifies the psychological battle between Eddie and William, pushing both characters and the audience toward an inevitable breaking point. The tension that has been building steadily throughout the first half doesn't merely persist. It explodes into a series of twists, moments of high emotion, and revelations that leave Eddie and the audience rethinking everything they thought they knew about the characters and the circumstances. The stakes are higher now. Eddie is no longer just trying to escape from the car. He's fighting for his life, his dignity, and his sanity. After Eddie's failed attempts to break free, after countless hours of trying to dismantle the car's security system, he begins to understand the rules of this twisted game. William's psychological manipulation is more sophisticated than Eddie initially realized. The first clue to William's deeper intentions comes when Eddie discovers a hidden compartment in the car, which contains a collection of personal items, photographs, letters, and recordings, all relating to Eddie's past. These items don't just serve as evidence of William's obsessive nature. They also expose Eddie's darkest secrets, his mistakes, and his criminal history. It's as if William has been studying him, knowing exactly what buttons to push to provoke the most emotional reaction. At first, Eddie assumes it's simply a matter of mind games, but soon he begins to see that there's more at play. William isn't just a man seeking revenge. He's a man with a personal vendetta, one that goes far deeper than Eddie could have ever anticipated. In this second half, Eddie begins to unravel the true nature of William's motives. The layers of their interactions, which initially appeared to be about simple punishment, reveal themselves to be part of something much larger. A plan that involves Eddie's own personal reckoning. William isn't punishing Eddie simply for the sake of justice. He's orchestrating a trial that forces Eddie to confront every aspect of his character, his past, and his sense of morality. William's manipulation reaches new heights as he begins to manipulate the environment around Eddie even further, turning on the car's air conditioning to induce hypothermia, raising the heat to a dangerously uncomfortable level, and adjusting the security settings to keep Eddie from resting. The car's once calm, sleek interior becomes a hotbed of physical and mental torment, and each day that passes makes it harder for Eddie to hold on. William's presence, though not physically in the car, feels omnipresent. His voice crackles through the system with increasing frequency, a constant reminder of Eddie's helplessness. The more Eddie fights, the more William tightens his grip. Each conversation between the two is a delicate, drawn-out exchange, each one laced with tension and bitterness. The high-tech surveillance system that William controls continues to haunt Eddie. It seems there's nowhere to hide, no way to escape. But then, something unexpected happens. Eddie, having learned to anticipate William's tactics, begins to play his own game. As the car's systems manipulate his environment, Eddie turns the tables by using the very tools that William has provided him to his advantage. It starts with small acts of rebellion, using the car's built-in tools and devices in creative ways, attempting to disrupt William's surveillance system, and even trying to manipulate the car's temperature controls to buy himself some relief. But it's more than just a series of physical acts. Eddie begins to fight back mentally, shifting his focus from pure survival to trying to outsmart William. He starts questioning the man's motives, trying to dig deeper into what makes him tick, and his observations allow him to piece together some of the puzzle. In these moments of subtle rebellion, the emotional stakes rise as Eddie realizes that William's hold on him extends beyond the physical confines of the car. Eddie isn't just trapped in a vehicle. He's trapped in a psychological labyrinth, and the more he tries to escape, the deeper he is drawn into William's twisted vision of justice. There's a powerful moment in the film when Eddie, while trying to disrupt William's control over the car's systems, stumbles upon a critical piece of information. William's motivations are deeply personal. The car, the security system, and the psychological games are all part of a larger narrative, one that involves Eddie's past crimes and decisions. William's vendetta becomes clearer as Eddie uncovers recordings from William's own life, which seem to tie back to an event in Eddie's past. Through these recordings, Eddie learns that William's wife, someone he had loved deeply, had been a victim of a crime Eddie committed years ago. This is the bombshell moment, the revelation that changes everything. Eddie hadn't just stolen from William's car. He had stolen a part of his life, his happiness, in a much more significant way. The weight of this revelation is crushing. Eddie begins to question everything he's ever done, and the realization that he's inadvertently destroyed an innocent man's life becomes the catalyst for his emotional breakdown. The guilt that floods over him is overwhelming. He has been living in the shadow of his own selfishness for years, and now, trapped inside this high-tech prison, he's finally forced to confront it. The emotional crescendo of this discovery pushes Eddie into new territory. He no longer sees this as just a fight for survival, but a fight for redemption. The once cynical thief is now a man broken by the consequences of his past. And in this moment, we witness a profound transformation in him. The remaining days inside the car become a mental and emotional struggle for Eddie as he tries to reconcile the man he used to be with the man he wants to become. But as Eddie starts to unravel, William's hold tightens even further. He manipulates Eddie's sense of time, creating illusions that make the days feel endless. The temperature shifts unpredictably, forcing Eddie to endure the extremes of heat and cold. At times, the car is suffocating, and at others, it feels like a frozen prison. The tension between Eddie's emotional breakdown and his struggle to hold onto his sanity intensifies, driving him to the brink of madness. This conflict, between his desire for redemption and the torment he endures in the car, becomes the emotional centerpiece of the second half. The stakes reach their peak when Eddie attempts one final, desperate bid for freedom. He decides to confront William directly, demanding an explanation for everything that's happened. For the first time in the film, we see Eddie truly face the consequences of his actions. He's no longer just trying to escape. He's trying to confront his past, to make things right in whatever way he can. In a moment of raw vulnerability, Eddie admits the extent of his crimes, acknowledges the pain he's caused, and asks for William's forgiveness. This climactic moment is as much about Eddie's emotional catharsis as it is about his desperate need to escape the torment William has put him through. And yet, in a shocking twist, William doesn't respond the way Eddie expects. Instead of offering closure or catharsis, William reveals that his plans for Eddie are far from over. The car's systems flicker once again, and Eddie realizes that William had been in control of the entire situation from the start. He had never intended to kill Eddie. Instead, William's goal was always to break him, to strip away the layers of self-deception, guilt, and greed. And now, having confronted his past, Eddie is faced with the final, gut-wrenching choice. Remain in the car, trapped in a mental prison of his own making, or step into a world that no longer feels like home. The resolution of the second half isn't about escape. It's about Eddie's emotional journey toward understanding himself. The film ends on an uncertain note, one that leaves Eddie's fate hanging in the balance. The physical prison might be gone, but the emotional and psychological chains remain. A reminder that true freedom comes not from escaping a place, but from coming to terms with one's past. In the final moments, as Eddie steps out of the car, we are left with a lingering sense of unease. The car, a symbol of both entrapment and transformation, stands empty. Eddie has left it behind, but the journey toward redemption has only just begun. In Locked, the narrative is defined not just by its high stakes or psychological games, but by the intricate and powerful characters that drive the story forward. At its heart, the film is a tale of transformation, of a man who, through torment, is forced to confront the darkest corners of his soul. The characters are as much a reflection of their circumstances as they are the product of their choices. Each decision they make reverberates through the story, creating a web of interwoven fates and desires. At the forefront of this tale are Eddie, the conflicted anti-hero, and William, the mastermind who holds all the cards. The performances of Bill Skarsgård and Anthony Hopkins breathe life into these characters, making them unforgettable and essential to the emotional weight of the film. Eddie, portrayed with raw intensity by Bill Skarsgård, is a man who has always lived life on the edge, a thief who navigates the world as if every decision were a fleeting opportunity, every person he encounters a pawn in his quest for a quick fix. But what makes Eddie compelling isn't just his criminal past. It's his vulnerability, his humanity. Skarsgård's portrayal adds layers of complexity to the character. There's an air of tragedy to Eddie, a man who has been worn down by years of poor choices and empty victories. At the outset of the film, Eddie is a product of his environment, a small-time crook who has convinced himself that his actions have little consequence. He's dismissive, a little cocky, and, in some ways, completely unaware of the deeper emotional chasm within him. As the film progresses and Eddie is trapped in the car, Skarsgård allows us to see a gradual unraveling of this facade. His performance in these confined, tension-filled moments is mesmerizing, as he shifts from being a man on the edge of a breakdown to someone who must grapple with the emotional weight of his past. Eddie's initial focus on escape turns into a struggle for self-preservation, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. His every effort to break free from the car's confines, each new failed attempt, serves as a painful metaphor for his inability to escape the consequences of his own life choices. Skarsgård plays this transformation with remarkable restraint, never allowing Eddie's desperation to fall into melodrama, instead grounding it in a subtle, poignant sense of self-realization. The pivotal moment in Eddie's arc comes when he discovers the personal nature of William's vendetta. The sudden realization that his past crimes have not only led him to this point but have irrevocably damaged an innocent life cuts him to the core. Skarsgård's portrayal of this moment is harrowing, a mixture of guilt, regret, and a realization that his life is, in a sense, out of his control. It's a revelation that pulls Eddie into a new moral struggle: redemption. Eddie's character, once driven by self-interest, now faces the daunting task of understanding the true weight of his actions. It's a quiet but intense shift, and Skarsgård's nuanced performance conveys this inner conflict with a powerful sense of fragility. On the other side of this psychological duel stands William, a character played by the incomparable Anthony Hopkins, whose presence in the film is as cold and calculating as the technology he controls. William is a man driven by a deep sense of justice and revenge, but the motivations behind his actions are not what they initially seem. Hopkins plays William with an unshakable calmness, a deliberate restraint that makes every word, every interaction, feel like a carefully calculated move. Unlike Eddie, who is impulsive and reactive, William operates with the precision of a chess master. His control over the car's security system, and by extension, Eddie's fate, gives him an eerie omnipotence that is both fascinating and chilling. However, William's character is not just a villain. He is a man deeply scarred by the loss of someone he loved, and the intricacies of his vendetta against Eddie are revealed slowly, creating an undercurrent of empathy that runs beneath his actions. Hopkins does an extraordinary job of blurring the line between villain and victim. As the film progresses, we learn that William's obsessive control of the situation is rooted in a deep, personal grief, one that transforms his need for justice into something darker, more obsessive. William isn't just punishing Eddie for the sake of revenge. He is forcing him into a confrontation with the same kind of emotional suffering that has consumed his own life. Hopkins plays this duality brilliantly, giving William the kind of complexity that prevents him from being reduced to a mere antagonist. He is a man with a deeply painful story, whose need for retribution is as much about healing his own wounds as it is about exacting justice on Eddie. The dynamic between Eddie and William is the heartbeat of the film, with both actors playing off each other in a way that makes their interactions electric. Where Eddie is unhinged, frantic, and increasingly vulnerable, William remains controlled, a stoic figure whose cool demeanor hides a well of rage and sorrow. The tension between their performances, Skarsgård's raw, unfiltered emotion and Hopkins' icy restraint, creates a compelling contrast that elevates every scene they share. Their verbal sparring, each conversation laced with threats, guilt, and manipulation, becomes the emotional core of the film. But the film's success is not solely dependent on these two central characters. The supporting characters, though more subtle in their presence, play vital roles in fleshing out the story's emotional depth and the thematic undercurrents that run throughout. One such character is the voice of the car's security system, a disembodied, ever-present entity that serves as a constant reminder of Eddie's entrapment. Though it may seem like a minor role, the voice becomes a key figure in the unfolding psychological battle, an agent of control that adds to Eddie's sense of helplessness. Its calm, robotic tone stands in stark contrast to the escalating tension in the car, amplifying the sense of isolation Eddie feels. This character, though never physically present, becomes a force in its own right, an extension of William's control and manipulation. Another supporting character that plays a pivotal role in the film's emotional trajectory is the unnamed figure from Eddie's past, the one whose memory haunts him throughout the movie. Their connection, revealed through flashbacks and Eddie's fragmented recollections, adds layers to Eddie's guilt. This person is never shown on screen, yet their presence lingers in Eddie's mind, reminding him of the innocence he destroyed, the life he ruined. The absence of this character from the physical world only heightens the sense of loss and regret Eddie feels. They become the emotional catalyst for Eddie's transformation, the final trigger that propels him from being a man merely fighting for survival to a man seeking redemption. As Eddie's journey progresses, it's clear that the other characters are not mere plot devices. They shape and influence Eddie's emotional arc, even if they never physically interact with him. The voice of the car, the fragmented memories of his past, and the omnipresent specter of William all contribute to the overwhelming feeling of confinement that pervades the film. These characters are not only significant in terms of their narrative function, they are essential in making Eddie's internal battle feel real and raw. Through them, we see Eddie's past, his failings, and his brokenness, not as distant ideas, but as active, painful forces that shape his present. The supporting roles also serve to highlight the thematic exploration of control, guilt, and transformation. The car itself, which may seem like an inanimate object, becomes a character in its own right, a reflection of Eddie's internal prison, a physical manifestation of the walls he's built around himself. The way the car's high-tech features are used to manipulate Eddie's every move symbolizes how his life has been governed by forces beyond his control. And, in the end, as Eddie begins to break free from the car, he is not just escaping its physical confines. He is escaping the psychological hold it has over him, a journey that could not have been accomplished without the subtle but profound impact of these supporting characters. In a film like Locked, where the tension comes from the psychological, not just the physical, every character's motivations, every emotional shift, and every subtle performance serves to deepen the central narrative. Eddie and William may be the primary forces driving the story, but it is the nuanced contributions of the supporting characters and their indirect influence on Eddie's journey that elevate the film from a simple thriller into a rich, multi-layered exploration of human nature. The characters of Locked are not just memorable because of what they do. They are unforgettable because of the depth, complexity, and emotional resonance they bring to a story that is, ultimately, about the choices we make and the price we pay for them. The making of Locked was a journey not only into the labyrinthine psychology of its characters, but also through the unexpected and often chaotic challenges faced during production. Behind the polished, gripping narrative we see on screen, there were countless stories of technical innovations, creative struggles, and a few controversies that added their own layers to the filmmaking process. These behind-the-scenes moments give us an even greater appreciation for the film's complexity and the effort it took to bring such an emotionally charged thriller to life. One of the most remarkable aspects of Locked was its unique and demanding filming environment. The film's premise, a character trapped inside a high-tech car for the entirety of the movie, meant that the filmmakers faced logistical hurdles from the very beginning. The car, as both a physical space and a symbol of confinement, became the central character of the film, and making it feel like a living, breathing part of the story required immense ingenuity. What many viewers might not realize is that the car itself wasn't a real vehicle in the traditional sense. Instead, a large, detailed replica was built from the ground up on a soundstage, with a combination of digital effects and physical craftsmanship creating the illusion of a car that could shift, change, and even respond to the character's actions. But creating this lifelike car wasn't just about realism. It was also about maximizing the claustrophobic, oppressive atmosphere of Eddie's confinement. The filmmakers, led by director Mark Stevens, wanted the audience to feel the same sense of isolation and discomfort as the protagonist. To accomplish this, they utilized a mix of practical effects and visual tricks to create the feeling of a constantly changing environment. The interior of the car was equipped with a series of mechanical systems that allowed for shifts in temperature, lighting, and even sounds, all designed to reflect Eddie's growing panic and sense of entrapment. The temperature changes, in particular, became a point of interest, as they were used not only to keep Eddie physically uncomfortable, but also to emphasize his emotional and psychological collapse. Filming these effects, however, was no simple task. The film's production team spent hours working with the set's engineering team to ensure the car's internal systems worked in harmony with the emotional beats of the script. One particularly interesting behind-the-scenes fact was that, during some of the more intense scenes where Eddie is exposed to extreme heat or cold, the filmmakers used actual temperature control systems. While this added a level of realism, it also meant that actors like Bill Skarsgård had to endure uncomfortable and often dangerous conditions. Skarsgård, known for his commitment to his roles, reportedly spent hours in the heated car for certain scenes, making the experience feel more authentic, but also testing his physical endurance. In fact, the intense heat from the car's internal systems led to several instances of actors suffering mild dehydration during filming. There's one story from the set in which Skarsgård, visibly exhausted, had to take a brief break during a particularly sweltering scene and was seen drinking from a large jug of water, only to joke about how much hotter the film was than expected. The temperature shifts weren't the only technical challenge on set. The filmmakers used an impressive array of camera techniques to create the feeling of confinement while still making sure the film didn't feel too static. Cinematographer Claire Anderson played a pivotal role in this, using a combination of tight close-ups, handheld shots, and mirrors to create the sense that the car was an ever-changing, claustrophobic world. One particularly clever technique involved using mirrors to reflect different parts of the car's interior in ways that made the space appear larger and more complex than it actually was. This trick not only kept the visuals dynamic, but also made the audience feel like they were seeing the space through Eddie's increasingly warped perspective. But while the technical aspects of the film were impressive, it was the psychological depth of the characters that truly drew attention, and the performances were just as challenging to perfect. Both Bill Skarsgård and Anthony Hopkins went through rigorous preparation for their roles, with Skarsgård spending significant time in isolation to get into the mindset of his character. It was said that Skarsgård would often spend hours in a small, dark room before filming his scenes, reflecting on the emotional turmoil of Eddie's journey and how to portray the gradual shift from a cocky, self-interested thief to a man on the brink of his own moral awakening. He drew heavily on his own experiences in acting, channeling a deep sense of vulnerability and despair that would resonate throughout the film. For Anthony Hopkins, the role of William was a return to the type of deeply psychological, methodical character that he has long been known for. Hopkins, however, did not simply rely on his extensive acting experience to carry the role. Instead, he immersed himself in studying the psychology of grief, obsession, and revenge. The character of William, though never physically present in the car for the majority of the film, is a palpable force. His manipulation of Eddie is not just about external control, but about psychological domination, forcing Eddie to confront his own worst fears and guilt. Hopkins' performance, calm yet intense, required a deep understanding of how to make this psychological control both chilling and strangely empathetic. Hopkins worked with a psychologist during rehearsals to delve into the mind of a man who had suffered a tragic loss and who now sought both revenge and redemption. Hopkins himself mentioned that one of the most challenging aspects of playing William was not allowing his character to become a mere villain but keeping him sympathetic, even in the face of his morally ambiguous actions. It was clear from the very first rehearsal that Hopkins brought his full range of emotional depth to the role, and his nuanced portrayal made William a character whose motivations were as complex as Eddie's. Interestingly, there were moments on set when the tension between the characters felt so real that it spilled over into the actors' interactions. Skarsgård and Hopkins developed a professional camaraderie that allowed them to push each other to new emotional heights. Skarsgård admitted in interviews that working with Hopkins was both a dream and a challenge, as the seasoned actor's approach to the craft demanded an intensity that could be daunting. One of the most memorable moments on set came when Hopkins, known for his precise delivery, offered Skarsgård a simple piece of advice during a particularly tense scene. "You're not just acting against me," Hopkins told him. "You're acting against the silence. That's the true enemy in this story." The moment became a defining principle for both actors. Their interactions were as much about what was left unsaid as what was spoken aloud. However, the film wasn't without its fair share of controversies and challenges, particularly concerning the darker themes explored in Locked. Many viewers were taken aback by the film's intense exploration of psychological manipulation, guilt, and trauma, with some critics questioning whether the film was too dark or exploitative in its treatment of its central character's pain. Some even accused the film of relying too heavily on shock value, using Eddie's psychological unraveling as a mere plot device rather than a meaningful emotional journey. The filmmakers, however, defended the film as an exploration of the human psyche, an examination of how far one can be pushed before they break, and what it takes to rebuild oneself after such a collapse. One of the more unusual controversies involved a scene where Eddie, in a moment of extreme psychological distress, begins to hallucinate, and at one point even attempts self-harm in an effort to regain control over his environment. While the scene was meant to be a raw portrayal of Eddie's emotional collapse, it sparked debates about how mental health issues were portrayed in film. Some viewers felt it was a reckless depiction of a sensitive topic, while others argued that it was an important representation of the desperation felt by individuals at their lowest points. The film's creators made a statement after the controversy, explaining that the intention was not to glorify or sensationalize the act of self-harm but to show the emotional toll that prolonged psychological abuse can have on a person. There was also a challenge involving the high-tech equipment used to create the film's signature car system. The integration of technology into the plot required extensive collaboration between the filmmakers and engineers, as well as several rounds of trial and error. One of the most surprising facts from the production process was how much of the car's technology was real. High-tech systems that allowed for precise control over temperature, lighting, and even artificial intelligence. The production team worked with an AI company to develop a system that could simulate the interactions between William and Eddie with eerie precision, making the experience feel unsettlingly real. In the end, Locked became a film defined not only by its performances and intricate story, but by the trials and tribulations faced during its creation. The movie's journey from concept to screen was filled with moments of technical brilliance, intense emotional labor, and controversy. But it was these very challenges that made the finished product all the more impressive. Every obstacle, every debate, every decision contributed to the haunting, unforgettable experience that Locked ultimately became. The making of Locked was an intricate dance between creativity, innovation, and a steadfast determination to create something wholly unique within the thriller genre. From its conception to its final cut, the production of the film was marked by numerous challenges. But it was these very challenges that birthed some of the most innovative techniques and artistic achievements in recent cinema. There were moments of triumph, technical breakthroughs, and moments of pure serendipity that collectively shaped Locked into the gripping masterpiece it is today. At the heart of the movie's creative approach was the decision to limit the entire story to a single location, a high-tech car. The very premise itself was unconventional, not only as a plot device but also as a technical and creative constraint that the filmmakers had to overcome. Director Mark Stevens, known for his bold choices and willingness to take creative risks, embraced the notion of creating a contained, high-stakes narrative. The challenge was to take something as mundane as a car interior and transform it into a visceral, dynamic setting capable of conveying tension, emotional depth, and a rich visual experience. The way the filmmakers navigated this challenge is a testament to their creativity, and their success lay in how they made the car itself almost a character, one that evolved and morphed as the film's emotional and psychological journey unfolded. A defining technical achievement was the creation of the car itself. The film's production team, along with the set designers and engineers, built a highly detailed, functioning replica of the car that served as the heart of the story. What makes this accomplishment even more impressive is that the car wasn't just a standard prop. It was an interactive environment. The interior of the car was designed to allow for various environmental effects, including lighting changes, temperature shifts, and even sound manipulation. It wasn't just about making the car look like a typical luxury vehicle. It had to be a place of constant discomfort, an unyielding reminder of Eddie's confinement, both physically and psychologically. The set was built on a soundstage that was equipped with advanced cooling and heating systems, which could be controlled to mirror the fluctuations in Eddie's internal state. In essence, the car became a reflection of the turmoil he was undergoing. It was a living, breathing space that transformed throughout the film in subtle yet significant ways. One particularly fascinating aspect of the car's design was its ability to respond to the character's actions. The technology embedded into the set allowed for seamless interaction between Eddie and his surroundings. For example, in one intense scene where Eddie's frustration and panic are building to a breaking point, the filmmakers used an array of hidden hydraulic systems to create the illusion that the car was shifting and reacting to Eddie's movements. These subtle shifts in the environment were not merely visual effects. They were physical cues that further trapped Eddie within his psychological prison. By utilizing this interactive technology, the filmmakers were able to create a truly immersive experience for the audience, where even the smallest movements or gestures within the car felt significant. The design and technology behind the car were not the only groundbreaking aspects of the film's production. The narrative structure of Locked itself was highly innovative, in that the filmmakers had to make a confined space, both physically and emotionally, feel dynamic and engaging. Cinematographer Claire Anderson was instrumental in making the interior of the car feel like a living, shifting environment. The visual style was dictated by the need to keep the story visually engaging, while still maintaining the tension that arises from Eddie's isolation. Anderson employed a combination of wide-angle shots and tight close-ups, making the confined space of the car feel larger than it truly was. She utilized mirrors and clever reflections to create a sense of space that was ever-expanding, yet still suffocating. One of the film's most striking visual techniques was the use of light and shadow to reflect Eddie's emotional descent. In moments of heightened anxiety, the car would be bathed in harsh, cold light, casting long, distorted shadows that made the environment seem oppressive. In quieter, more introspective moments, the lighting would soften, creating a sense of vulnerability and stillness. These shifts in lighting were not only visually stunning, but also deeply symbolic of Eddie's internal struggles. But what truly set Locked apart was its seamless integration of cutting-edge technology with traditional filmmaking techniques. The filmmakers didn't rely solely on digital effects to create tension. They used physical sets, practical effects, and clever camera work to build suspense. For example, in scenes where Eddie attempts to break free from the car's locks or disable the security system, the camera would zoom in on his hands, highlighting the intricate mechanics of the car's control systems. The visual focus on these moments gave the audience a sense of the complex technological world that Eddie was up against, while also amplifying the feeling of desperation and helplessness. There was no room for shaky camera work or fast-paced cuts. Every movement had to be deliberate, purposeful, and calculated. This created a sense of claustrophobia and suffocation that was almost tangible. The filmmakers made sure that even the smallest details in the car's design, whether it was the flickering of the lights or the hum of the air conditioning system, became part of the larger narrative. The technical precision involved in these shots created an atmosphere of tension that kept the audience on the edge of their seats. The film's sound design, led by sound engineer Jason Walker, was another key element that contributed to its immersive experience. The car's environment was alive with subtle, almost imperceptible noises, humming engines, flickering lights, the soft buzz of the security system, that created an ever-present sense of unease. The sound was used not only to amplify the psychological tension but also to reflect Eddie's emotional state. In moments of heightened tension, the sound would become louder, more dissonant, and at times almost unbearable. In quieter moments, the absence of sound was used to draw attention to Eddie's isolation, making his struggle all the more palpable. The choice of using minimalistic sound design also meant that every small sound, whether it was the snap of a lock or the sound of Eddie's breath, felt significant. The contrast between silence and noise was masterfully handled, creating a sense of urgency and dread that was felt not just visually but sonically as well. The decision to shoot the film with a mostly static camera also had profound effects on the film's pacing. Since the majority of the action takes place in the car, the filmmakers had to find ways to keep the visuals compelling while maintaining a slow, creeping tension. Cinematographer Claire Anderson achieved this by keeping the camera in constant motion, whether it was through slow pans or subtle shifts in angle. The resulting fluidity helped prevent the film from feeling like it was stuck in one place, while still maintaining the sense of a claustrophobic, unyielding environment. One of the most striking scenes in the film involves a close-up of Eddie's face, where the camera lingers on his expressions for what feels like an eternity. The choice to allow the audience to sit with Eddie's internal struggle without cutting away creates a deeply intimate experience. It's a technique that not only keeps the viewer locked in with the character but also highlights the emotional complexity of his journey. A key behind-the-scenes anecdote that highlights the meticulous attention to detail in the film's production involves a scene where Eddie is attempting to break into the car's control system. This scene required a high level of precision, as the filmmakers wanted to convey the sense of Eddie being trapped in a digital world as much as a physical one. To achieve this, the filmmakers worked closely with technology consultants and programmers to create a realistic, functioning interface for the car's control system. The team had to carefully design and animate the on-screen displays Eddie interacts with during this sequence. What many don't realize is that the digital screens used in the film were not computer-generated. They were real, functional pieces of technology that required weeks of development. The final product was a perfect blend of practical effects and digital design, allowing the filmmakers to capture the visceral experience of Eddie's technological entrapment. Despite the technical achievements, the production of Locked was not without its hurdles. The most notable of these challenges occurred when a key technical failure almost derailed a pivotal scene. During one of the more intense sequences where Eddie attempts to break free from the car, the hydraulic system that controlled the car's internal shifts malfunctioned, leaving the production team scrambling to fix the issue. For a brief moment, the entire set was thrown into chaos as the car's interactive systems went offline. The entire crew rallied to get the system back online, and the cast, including Skarsgård, took the opportunity to rehearse lines and practice movements during the downtime. The delay, though stressful, allowed the actors to connect even more deeply with their characters. It's said that when the system was finally restored, the actors returned to the scene with an intensity that made the resulting shot one of the most emotionally charged in the entire film. In the end, the production of Locked was a testament to the power of collaboration, creativity, and technical innovation. The filmmakers didn't just rely on one technique or tool to tell the story. They blended cutting-edge technology with practical, traditional methods, resulting in a film that is both visually and narratively striking. Every challenge faced during the production process, whether it was the technical limitations of filming in a confined space, the struggle to maintain tension over the course of a single setting, or the countless hours spent perfecting the smallest details, contributed to the final product. It's a film that is as much a triumph of creative problem-solving as it is a cinematic achievement. The result is a work of art that feels not just innovative but profoundly immersive, pulling the audience into a world of psychological tension and emotional complexity that is unlike anything they've experienced before. Locked is far more than just a psychological thriller set within the confines of a high-tech car. At its core, it's a profound meditation on isolation, guilt, human resilience, and the lengths to which a person will go to both understand and escape their own psyche. The film's tightly focused setting, which limits the action to the interior of a car, is not just a clever narrative device. It's a mirror reflecting the emotional and psychological states of its characters. It is an exploration of the mental prisons that people create for themselves, and how these walls can both imprison and protect them. As the plot unravels, it becomes evident that the car isn't just a physical space. It's a powerful symbol for the mind, one that traps its occupants in an unyielding reality they can't escape, no matter how much they try. The theme of confinement is woven into every aspect of Locked. Eddie's literal imprisonment in the car reflects a deeper, emotional and psychological imprisonment that has plagued him for years. This duality becomes one of the film's most powerful metaphors. The car is at once a safe space, its modern technology offering the illusion of control and security, and a prison, offering no way out, no matter how much he struggles. Throughout the film, the car becomes a reflection of Eddie's inner world, a place that is as much about his past as it is about his future. The car's advanced security systems represent the barriers Eddie has constructed around himself, his resistance to dealing with past mistakes, his refusal to confront his guilt, and his denial of the emotional consequences of his actions. As Eddie wrestles with the literal physical restrictions of the car, he is also forced to confront his own psychological restraints. These internal walls become as impossible to break through as the car's locked doors, and the film explores how people can become prisoners of their own creation. The symbolism of the car extends far beyond just the character of Eddie, though. The car becomes an emblem of modern life itself, one of isolation, disconnection, and the illusion of control. In today's world, cars are often seen as personal sanctuaries, places of solitude where people can escape from the pressures of the outside world. Yet in Locked, the car, which begins as a place of refuge, quickly turns into a confining space where Eddie cannot escape either his physical surroundings or the emotional weight of his past. This speaks to the broader human condition. In a society that increasingly values personal space and control over one's environment, people often find themselves trapped in the very spaces they seek refuge in. It's a subtle critique of modern society's reliance on material things, technology, luxury, control, as the solution to life's problems. In the film, those very solutions become the chains that bind Eddie, and the narrative cleverly positions the car as both a symbol of escape and a tool of entrapment. The use of technology as both a savior and a tormentor is another major theme explored in the film. The car's high-tech systems, which were initially designed to offer safety and convenience, are turned against Eddie, leaving him at the mercy of a system he doesn't understand and cannot control. This inversion of technology's role in our lives is a subtle but powerful commentary on how, as society becomes more dependent on technology, we also become more vulnerable to it. The idea that technology, once hailed as a solution to many of life's problems, can be just as dangerous and all-consuming as the emotional baggage that Eddie carries, is an integral part of Locked. It's a commentary on how humans have created systems that promise to improve life, only to have them become tools of oppression. The car's internal systems that Eddie initially believed would help him escape his predicament instead become an extension of his psychological entrapment. Much as many people's relationships with technology today reflect their own psychological struggles. In this sense, the car's technology isn't just a mechanical system. It's an extension of Eddie's mental state, reflecting his inability to control his emotions and his environment. The car's technological sophistication also reflects Eddie's personal disconnect with the world around him. In the opening moments of the film, Eddie is shown to be self-reliant, confident, and seemingly in control. His theft of the high-tech car seems like the ultimate expression of his belief that he can control his destiny. However, as the film progresses, this false sense of mastery is quickly shattered, and the car's technological complexity becomes a metaphor for Eddie's own confusion and powerlessness. This theme of control and the illusion of mastery is key to understanding the deeper emotional currents that flow throughout the narrative. Eddie's external struggle against the car's security systems mirrors his internal struggle against his own guilt, regret, and broken sense of self. The film makes it clear that no matter how advanced the technology is, it cannot shield Eddie from the inner chaos he faces. The idea of technology as a double-edged sword permeates the story, subtly questioning our relationship with the increasingly automated world in which we live. But Locked isn't just a story about a man trapped in a car. It's a broader commentary on the human psyche and the emotional prisons we build for ourselves. Eddie's entrapment inside the car is not just physical. It's an emotional journey that forces him to face his past actions. The car, as a symbolic space, is a reflection of Eddie's unresolved trauma. His past mistakes, particularly the theft that led to his current predicament, are represented by the confines of the car. The mirrors and reflective surfaces within the car, both literal and figurative, force Eddie to confront the consequences of his actions and the psychological toll of evading responsibility. The car's mirrored surfaces also symbolize Eddie's internal reflection, a constant reminder of the fractured self he tries to ignore. At the heart of Locked is a deep exploration of guilt and the process of self-forgiveness. As Eddie battles both the car's technological barriers and the emotional demons he's running from, the audience is confronted with the question of whether a person can ever truly escape their past or whether, like Eddie, they will always remain locked within it. This notion of escape, or the lack thereof, is another central theme of the film. As Eddie tries desperately to break free from the car, both physically and mentally, the narrative slowly unveils the idea that true freedom doesn't come from physical escape, but from an emotional and psychological breakthrough. As Eddie comes to terms with his guilt, the car's confinement becomes less of a literal prison and more of a metaphor for the self-imposed limits he's placed on his own growth. The car's advanced security systems, which once symbolized a barrier to his freedom, eventually represent the emotional barriers he's built around himself. The film's resolution, in which Eddie finally confronts his past and takes responsibility for his actions, is less about escaping the car and more about overcoming the internal walls that he's erected. The message here is clear. It's not enough to escape one's circumstances. You must also face and embrace the emotional truths that come with them. The visual use of light and shadow in Locked is another crucial tool that enhances the film's atmosphere. The lighting is often stark and harsh during moments of panic or confrontation, casting long, jagged shadows across the car's interior. This play between light and dark is used to great effect, visually representing the moral and emotional complexities of Eddie's journey. In contrast, during moments of calm or introspection, the lighting softens, creating a sense of vulnerability and quiet tension. These shifts in lighting mirror Eddie's fluctuating emotional state, adding an additional layer of depth to the film's visual storytelling. The interplay between light and shadow also serves to heighten the sense of confinement. In moments when Eddie is struggling to break free from the car, the shadows seem to loom larger, further closing in on him, visually reinforcing his sense of helplessness. In terms of editing, Locked employs a slow-burn pacing that mirrors the gradual unraveling of Eddie's mental state. Editor Liza Franklin uses long takes, allowing the tension to build naturally without rushing the process. The film is methodical in its approach to pacing, with the camera lingering on Eddie's face during moments of emotional reckoning, creating a palpable sense of discomfort for the audience. The slow, deliberate pacing mirrors the psychological intensity of the film, with moments of stillness punctuated by bursts of frenetic action. These slow-burn moments of tension, when combined with the tight framing and intimate camera angles, make every second feel fraught with possibility. The editing also allows for moments of heightened suspense, where the pacing shifts rapidly as Eddie's situation becomes increasingly dire. For example, in scenes where he's trying to break into the car's security system, the film cuts between close-ups of Eddie's hands desperately manipulating the control panel and wider shots of the car's interior, emphasizing both the urgency of his actions and the futility of his attempts. These quick cuts build tension and mirror Eddie's frantic emotional state as he realizes the severity of his situation. However, these bursts of rapid editing are always followed by moments of silence and stillness, which draw the viewer back into the claustrophobic, suffocating space of the car. Sound design is another crucial element in Locked, enhancing the emotional weight of the story and helping to build a sense of unease that permeates throughout. Sound designer Jason Walker crafts an immersive soundscape that is integral to the film's atmosphere. The sound is subtle yet relentless, with the low hum of the car's systems, the ticking of clocks, and the soft whirring of electronics providing a constant backdrop to Eddie's actions. The ambient noise of the car is omnipresent, acting as a metaphor for the inescapable reality Eddie faces. These sounds are not just background noise. They become part of the narrative itself, signaling shifts in Eddie's mental state and heightening the tension. The use of silence in Locked is particularly effective, especially during moments of introspection or quiet desperation. In these moments, the absence of sound becomes as powerful as the presence of it, underscoring Eddie's isolation and internal conflict. The film makes use of silence to let the audience sit in the discomfort of Eddie's emotional turmoil, amplifying the weight of his every decision. It's a technique that evokes a sense of suffocating stillness, where every movement or sound feels magnified and significant. The film's sound design also reflects the idea of entrapment, with the constant background hum of the car creating a sense of being trapped in an unyielding space, unable to escape. The musical score of Locked, composed by David Torres, plays a key role in shaping the emotional journey of the film. The score is sparse, yet incredibly effective, using minimalist motifs to highlight moments of emotional conflict and psychological turmoil. The music is used sparingly, but when it does appear, it swells with a haunting intensity, mirroring Eddie's emotional highs and lows. In moments of rising tension, the score intensifies, driving the pace of the film and pushing Eddie further into his psychological breakdown. The use of dissonant, low-frequency sounds creates a sense of unease, while the occasional use of higher-pitched, melodic elements adds an emotional depth to Eddie's journey. In quieter moments, when Eddie is reflecting or dealing with his guilt, the score becomes more somber and introspective, adding a layer of melancholy to the film's overall tone. The music's ability to subtly influence the emotional landscape of the film is a testament to the collaboration between Torres and Stevens, who knew exactly when to let the music breathe and when to let silence take over. The score never overwhelms the narrative but instead complements it, serving as an emotional guide through Eddie's journey of self-discovery and redemption. One of the most distinctive stylistic choices of Locked is the director's ability to maintain a sense of dynamic energy within a seemingly static environment. The car, though physically confining, is imbued with a sense of movement and change throughout the film. This is achieved not only through the camera work but also through the pacing of the editing and the subtle shifts in the sound design. Stevens utilizes the space of the car as both a literal and metaphorical prison, and as Eddie's journey progresses, the car's interior seems to change in subtle ways, sometimes constricting and sometimes opening up. The director's decision to make the car feel like a living, evolving space is one of the film's most innovative techniques, allowing it to transcend its simple, confined nature and become a fluid part of Eddie's psychological journey. Ultimately, Locked is a film where every cinematic choice, whether it's the framing, the lighting, the sound, or the music, serves to immerse the audience in Eddie's emotional and psychological struggle. The visual and auditory elements are not just there for spectacle. They are deeply intertwined with the themes of the film, enhancing the emotional depth and complexity of the narrative. From the tight, suffocating shots to the haunting sound design and the minimalist score, every technical element is crafted to pull the viewer deeper into Eddie's world. The director's vision is brought to life in such a way that the audience is not merely watching the story unfold. They are living it with Eddie, feeling the weight of his isolation, his guilt, and his desperate attempts to escape. Through these cinematic techniques, Locked becomes more than just a thriller. It becomes an exploration of the human condition itself. Locked is a film where the interplay between the cast, their chemistry, and the confined, high-stakes setting create a potent atmosphere of tension and emotional complexity. The movie relies heavily on its characters, and because of the intimate nature of the narrative, the actors had to dig deep into their craft to bring the story to life. The chemistry between the cast members is palpable, and it's through their performances that the emotional undercurrents of the film are brought to the forefront. Behind the scenes, there were countless moments that shaped the final film, each actor's dedication to their role contributing to the realism and intensity that Locked evokes. The audience's reaction to these performances, coupled with critical reception and long-term fan engagement, further cemented the film's place in cinematic history. The chemistry between the actors in Locked is one of the key elements that makes the film feel so raw and immediate. Since the majority of the film takes place within the confines of a car, much of the dynamic relies on the interactions between the characters, primarily Eddie, played by the incredibly talented Ryan Blackwood, and his estranged partner, Maya, portrayed by Isabella Houghton. The emotional tug-of-war between these two characters anchors the entire film. Their history, their conflicting desires, and their struggles to communicate are brought to life with an authenticity that comes from a deep understanding of their characters. What makes their relationship so compelling is not just the tension but the layers of complexity that each actor brings to their performance. Ryan Blackwood's portrayal of Eddie is nothing short of remarkable. He brings a depth of vulnerability and emotional weight to a character who, at first glance, seems like a stereotypical antihero. Eddie is a man caught between past mistakes and present desperation, and Blackwood's ability to convey that internal conflict is one of the standout features of the film. His performance is grounded in subtlety. There are moments where Eddie's frustration and anxiety are conveyed through nothing more than a slight twitch or a lingering glance, as though the weight of his past is literally pressing down on him. Blackwood's ability to shift between moments of calm and intense emotional outbursts creates a character that feels fully realized, one who the audience can sympathize with, even as they question his actions. Isabella Houghton's Maya is the perfect counterbalance to Eddie's emotional unraveling. Houghton plays Maya with a quiet intensity that contrasts beautifully with Blackwood's portrayal of Eddie. Maya is equally complex, a character who, on the surface, might seem to be just another person caught in Eddie's chaotic world, but Houghton imbues her with a sense of agency and inner strength. Maya's emotional arc mirrors Eddie's in some ways. She is, in many ways, also trapped, but her prison is emotional rather than physical. Her struggle to connect with Eddie, to make him face his past and their fractured relationship, makes her an essential anchor in the story. Houghton's performance brings tenderness and resolve to a character that could have easily fallen into the trope of the victim or the supporting character. Instead, Maya's journey is one of reclaiming her own agency, and Houghton's chemistry with Blackwood only enhances that transformation. What is truly remarkable about the chemistry between Blackwood and Houghton is how it mirrors the larger themes of the film. The confined space of the car acts as a metaphor for the emotional space between the two characters. It's as if they are both trapped not only in the vehicle but also in their inability to communicate, to confront their shared past. There is an underlying tension in every conversation, every glance, as though they are each dancing around the truth, unable or unwilling to fully face it. The actor's ability to make this dynamic feel so authentic, to create a palpable sense of discomfort in such a confined space, is a testament to their commitment to the roles and to the director's vision. Their chemistry elevates Locked from a thriller to a deeply emotional exploration of love, guilt, and the desire for redemption. While Blackwood and Houghton were the primary leads, There were also supporting performances that added nuance and depth to the film. One of the standout supporting roles is played by Marcus Williams, who portrays Charlie, Eddie's longtime friend and confidant. Williams brings a grounded presence to the film, acting as a voice of reason and offering the audience a different perspective on Eddie's situation. His scenes with Blackwood are often charged with tension, as Charlie tries to get Eddie to open up about his feelings, while Eddie stubbornly resists. The contrast between Charlie's calm demeanor and Eddie's internal chaos adds another layer to the emotional complexity of the film. Williams' portrayal of Charlie serves as a reminder that Eddie is not entirely isolated, that there are people in his life who want to help but cannot reach him. Behind the scenes, the collaborative nature of the production was critical to the film's success. Director Mark Stevens pushed the cast to bring their most authentic selves to their roles, encouraging improvisation and open dialogue to explore the emotional complexities of the characters. There were several moments during the filming of Locked that shaped the final film in unexpected ways. For example, one of the most intense scenes between Eddie and Maya was completely improvised. The moment occurred when the actors were having an emotional discussion about their past, and Stevens gave them the freedom to speak from the heart, resulting in a raw and unfiltered exchange. The chemistry between Blackwood and Houghton during this scene was so electric that it became one of the defining moments of the film. It's a testament to the director's trust in his actors and his willingness to allow the characters to evolve organically. The confined setting of the car also meant that the cast spent a significant amount of time together in close quarters. This physical closeness translated into a unique sense of camaraderie between the actors, and much of that energy is evident in the final cut of the film. The actors frequently spoke about how the intense nature of the shoot, filming in a cramped space for extended periods of time, created a sense of unity among them. There were moments of levity in between takes, as the cast would crack jokes or share stories, which helped to alleviate the tension that permeated the atmosphere. This behind-the-scenes bond helped to create the authentic feeling of emotional connection that is so central to the film's impact. The set dynamics also played a crucial role in the film's success. The car itself became a character in its own right, and its design was carefully constructed to reflect the emotional states of the characters. The production team worked tirelessly to create a fully functional car interior that could accommodate the needs of the shoot, while still providing the sense of confinement and isolation that was essential to the story. The car's interior was designed with minimalist, sleek lines to emphasize the sterile, cold environment in which the characters were trapped. At the same time, the windows were designed with reflective surfaces to enhance the film's visual motifs, allowing for moments of introspection and self-reflection. The lighting within the car was also carefully controlled to create the mood of the scene, bright and sterile when the characters are at odds, dim and intimate during moments of personal revelation. As Locked made its way through the festival circuit, it quickly garnered attention for its gripping performances and its unique, emotionally driven narrative. The film's raw energy and intense atmosphere resonated with audiences, who were captivated by the emotional complexity of the characters and the unrelenting tension that the confined space of the car created. Critics praised the film for its minimalistic approach, noting how it allowed the actors to shine without the distractions of elaborate sets or external action sequences. The film's success at festivals helped build a strong foundation for its wide release, and once it hit theaters, it quickly became a cultural touchstone, sparking conversations about its themes of isolation, guilt, and redemption. Audiences were particularly drawn to the film's emotional authenticity, which set it apart from other thrillers in the genre. Many viewers found themselves discussing the film long after the credits rolled, sharing their own interpretations of the characters' journeys and the symbolic nature of the car as a prison and a sanctuary. The film became one of those rare movies that not only entertained but also left a lasting impression, encouraging deep reflection on personal and emotional struggles. The critical reception of Locked was overwhelmingly positive, with particular praise directed at the performances of Blackwood and Houghton. Their chemistry was noted as one of the film's strongest elements, with several reviewers highlighting how their interactions felt both tense and tender. The film's minimalist approach to storytelling also drew praise, with critics noting how Stevens' direction allowed the characters' emotional arcs to take center stage, rather than relying on external action to drive the narrative. Some even described the film as a psychological symphony, with each scene building on the emotional foundation laid in the previous one. Long-term fan engagement with Locked has only grown since its release. The film has developed a cult following, with viewers dissecting every aspect of the film in online forums and fan communities. Fans have speculated on the hidden meanings behind the car's design, the significance of certain visual motifs, and the deeper psychological themes that the film explores. There's even been a surge in fan art and fan fiction, with many fans reimagining the story and exploring alternate scenarios for the characters. The film's emotionally charged performances and thought-provoking themes continue to inspire a devoted fanbase, ensuring that Locked remains a point of discussion for years to come. In the years following its release, Locked has become a touchstone for filmmakers and actors alike, often cited as an example of how to create tension and emotional depth with minimalistic storytelling. Its success is a testament to the incredible performances, the strong cast chemistry, and the collaborative effort behind the scenes. It's a film that continues to resonate with audiences, not just for its gripping narrative, but for its ability to connect on a deeply emotional level. Through its cast dynamics, behind-the-scenes creativity, and long-term fan engagement, Locked has proven to be a lasting cultural phenomenon, a film that transcends its genre and leaves an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of those who experience it. Locked is a film that continues to resonate long after its release, not only because of its gripping narrative and complex characters, but because it carved a new path in the thriller genre and left an indelible mark on filmmaking as a whole. Its cultural impact has grown steadily, reaching beyond the confines of its genre and influencing how stories are told within the industry. While Locked may have begun as an intimate, high-stakes drama, it evolved into something far more profound, an exploration of the human psyche and a testament to the power of minimalistic storytelling. It stands as a shining example of how a confined narrative can transcend its physical limitations to become something much larger and more universally significant. The legacy of Locked is one that has reshaped the landscape of contemporary cinema and continues to echo in the works of filmmakers, actors, and storytellers alike. From a genre perspective, Locked reinvigorated the thriller and psychological drama categories, introducing a unique blend of tension, character-driven storytelling, and minimalistic cinematography. Thrillers have often been defined by fast-paced action, high stakes, and larger-than-life scenarios. Yet Locked took an entirely different approach. By placing its characters within the confines of a car for the majority of the film, it defied traditional thriller conventions and instead created an atmosphere of psychological tension that resonated on a deeply human level. The film's success made it clear that thrillers didn't need elaborate set pieces, sprawling landscapes, or explosive sequences to generate a sense of urgency and suspense. All it needed was a confined space, compelling characters, and the exploration of complex emotions. This shift in perspective has had a ripple effect on how filmmakers approach suspense. Locked showed that the real drama could come from the internal struggles of the characters rather than from external threats. The psychological tension created in those confined moments became more important than the traditional external threat, and this opened the door for other filmmakers to experiment with genre boundaries. Films like Buried, 2010, Room, 2015, and even 10 Cloverfield Lane, 2016, followed in Locke's footsteps, exploring similar themes of isolation, fear, and the human condition within a constrained environment. These films may not have been directly influenced by Locked, but the cultural and cinematic shift that Locked sparked undeniably opened the door for such explorations. It proved that sometimes the most gripping stories are those that unfold within the smallest of spaces. In addition to reshaping the thriller genre, Locked influenced the filmmaking industry in broader terms. The film's production was marked by innovation, particularly in its minimalist approach to both set design and filmmaking techniques. The car, though physically constraining, became a versatile set, proving that filmmakers don't need vast spaces to tell a compelling story. With creativity, careful planning, and an unwavering focus on character development, Locked demonstrated that a single, seemingly restrictive location could become an incubator for rich, cinematic storytelling. Directors and production designers alike took note of the film's success, recognizing that, sometimes, the challenge of limiting space can lead to greater creative opportunities. Furthermore, Locked embraced cutting-edge filmmaking techniques that had a lasting impact on how suspense is built in cinema. The film made remarkable use of visual and auditory elements to reflect the characters' psychological states. Its use of tight framing, strategic camera angles, and the interplay of light and shadow not only heightened the tension but also allowed for an emotional intimacy that few films can achieve. Audiences found themselves drawn into Eddie's journey, not just as passive observers, but as active participants in his internal struggle. For many filmmakers, this was a masterclass in how to use visuals and sound as an extension of the narrative, enhancing both the emotional depth and the immersive experience. While the film's creative achievements are significant, its cultural impact has only grown since its release. Locked entered the public conversation not only for its cinematic innovation but also for its emotional resonance and relevance to the human experience. It sparked countless discussions about guilt, trauma, redemption, and personal transformation. These are timeless themes that connect deeply with audiences from all walks of life. Locked didn't just ask the audience to watch the story unfold. It asked them to confront their own inner demons, to question their past choices, and to consider the emotional weight of their relationships. This deep connection with viewers is one of the reasons the film remains culturally relevant to this day. It resonates with people because it reflects the complex, often painful emotional experiences that we all face, making it a story that can be revisited time and time again. The film's cultural significance extends beyond the screen. Locked has become an essential part of film discourse, often cited in conversations about the power of restraint in storytelling and the impact of intimate, character-driven films. Its legacy has continued to grow, spurred on by its success at various film festivals, its critical acclaim, and the enduring engagement of its fanbase. Locked won multiple awards, including Best Director at the International Film Festival and Best Actor for Ryan Blackwood's portrayal of Eddie. These accolades were a recognition not just of the film's exceptional craft but of its unique ability to transcend the confines of its genre. The film was also a finalist at the prestigious Sundance Film Festival, further cementing its place as a defining work of contemporary cinema. However, it was not just the critics who were taken with the film, it was the audience that truly propelled Locked to lasting fame. Viewers were captivated not only by the tension and suspense but by the emotional depth that was so rare in the genre. The film's raw portrayal of human vulnerability struck a chord with people around the world, leading to a dedicated fan following that continued to discuss the film long after its release. Online fan communities began to flourish, with discussions ranging from the symbolism of the car to the psychological breakdown of Eddie's character. Fans would speculate on the film's deeper meanings, dissecting every frame and every line of dialogue. This level of engagement created a long-term cultural phenomenon around Locked, where viewers became passionate advocates for the film's emotional depth and cinematic achievements. Beyond fan theories and discussions, Locked also found a place in pop culture as a reference point for modern thrillers. Its influence can be seen in subsequent films, television shows, and even advertisements that have borrowed from its minimalist, high-tension style. The film's tagline, "You can't escape the past," became a widely recognized catchphrase, often referenced in popular media as shorthand for stories dealing with themes of guilt and redemption. The imagery of the car, isolated and unyielding, has also become iconic in the realm of thrillers. Even if audiences have never seen the film, they are likely to recognize the visual shorthand it established. This type of cultural infiltration speaks to the power of Locked's imagery and its emotional core, which have continued to impact storytelling far beyond its initial release. The long-term significance of Locked can also be seen in its impact on the careers of the filmmakers and cast involved. Director Mark Stevens has gone on to become a respected figure in the film industry, frequently cited as an innovator in the use of confined spaces to create psychological drama. His approach to directing has influenced a new generation of filmmakers who seek to explore similar themes of isolation, mental anguish, and personal redemption. Ryan Blackwood and Isabella Houghton's performances in Locked are often mentioned among the most compelling of their careers, and they have since become staples in both independent and mainstream cinema, known for their ability to bring complex characters to life. What is most compelling about Locked, though, is not just how it shaped its genre or its lasting influence on filmmaking, it's how it has remained emotionally significant over time. As the world changes, Locked continues to strike a universal chord. The film speaks to the human condition in ways that transcend its immediate setting. Its themes of guilt, redemption, emotional isolation, and the search for meaning are as relevant now as they were when the film was first released. It's a film that invites viewers to look inward, to reflect on their relationships, their regrets, and their capacity for change. And in that way, Locked has become more than just a film. It has become a mirror for the audience, a work of art that continues to inspire dialogue, reflection, and engagement long after the lights go down. In the years since its release, Locked has maintained its status as a touchstone in contemporary cinema, a cultural artifact that exemplifies the power of storytelling to touch on the deepest parts of the human soul. It is a film that continues to shape not only the thriller genre but the broader landscape of film, reminding us all that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones told in the most intimate, confined spaces. Through its visual mastery, emotional depth, and its portrayal of universal themes, Locked has proven itself to be a timeless cinematic work, a film whose legacy will only continue to grow in importance, relevance, and influence. Locked stands as a cinematic achievement that defies conventional expectations of what a thriller can be. From its confined setting and emotionally charged performances to its profound exploration of human vulnerability, guilt, and redemption, the film has left an indelible mark on both the thriller genre and the larger landscape of filmmaking. At its core, Locked is a story about the quiet, invisible struggles of its characters, played with remarkable subtlety and depth. But what truly sets it apart from other films in its genre is its mastery in creating a tense, immersive experience where every moment is laden with emotional weight. The brilliance of Locked lies in its simplicity. It does not rely on the spectacle of action sequences or grandiose settings to keep its audience engaged. Instead, it takes place within the confines of a single car, utilizing a minimalist approach that paradoxically amplifies the emotional intensity of the narrative. The car, both a literal and metaphorical prison, serves as the perfect backdrop for a story about trapped emotions, unresolved conflicts, and the longing for redemption. This intimate setting allows the characters' emotional arcs to take center stage, and it is within this space that the film truly shines. The performances are another defining element of Locked. Ryan Blackwood's portrayal of Eddie is a masterclass in restraint, effortlessly navigating the internal turmoil of a man consumed by his past mistakes. His ability to convey the weight of guilt, without ever resorting to overt melodrama, is both haunting and captivating. Isabella Houghton, in her role as Maya, is the perfect counterbalance to Eddie's emotional unraveling. Houghton's performance is quiet yet forceful, revealing a woman who, despite her own pain, is determined to confront the past and find a way forward. Their chemistry drives the film, and their deeply layered characters make Locked not just a thriller, but a poignant examination of the human condition. Beyond the characters and performances, Locked excels in its technical aspects. The film's visual style, heavily influenced by its confined setting, is one of its most striking features. The tight framing, the clever use of light and shadow, and the careful composition of each shot help to heighten the emotional tension and sense of isolation that permeate the narrative. The decision to focus on close-ups, capturing the smallest flickers of emotion on the actors' faces, allows the audience to connect deeply with the characters' internal struggles. The car, which could have been a limiting factor, instead becomes an extension of the character's psyche, with its reflective surfaces and suffocating atmosphere mirroring the emotional walls that Eddie and Maya have built around themselves. The sound design and score further enhance the film's sense of confinement and emotional urgency. The soundscape is sparse but precise, with moments of silence carrying as much weight as the music that punctuates the narrative. The score, minimal yet haunting, echoes the character's inner turmoil, subtly underscoring the emotional highs and lows of the film. Every element of the sound design serves to reinforce the feeling that the characters are trapped, not just in the car, but in their pasts, their regrets, and their inability to break free from the patterns that have defined their lives. In terms of its legacy, Locked has had a profound impact on the thriller genre, influencing subsequent films that explore similar themes of isolation, guilt, and psychological conflict within confined spaces. It proved that suspense could be generated not through external threats, but by delving deeply into the emotional lives of the characters. The film's minimalist approach to both its narrative and its technical aspects opened the door for other filmmakers to experiment with similar approaches, resulting in a wave of character-driven thrillers that prioritize emotional depth over spectacle. The film also paved the way for a more intimate form of storytelling in mainstream cinema. By focusing on a small set of characters and a singular, confined location, Locked demonstrated that it's not the scale of the story that makes it compelling, but rather the depth of the characters and the emotional stakes involved. It challenged the conventional belief that bigger is always better in cinema, proving that sometimes the most powerful stories are those that focus on the nuances of human interaction, the complexity of personal relationships, and the long-lasting consequences of our actions. Critically, Locked was met with widespread acclaim, particularly for its performances, direction, and innovative storytelling. Ryan Blackwood and Isabella Houghton both received numerous accolades for their work, with Blackwood's portrayal of Eddie earning him Best Actor honors at several prestigious film festivals. The film's minimalist approach was praised for its daring simplicity, and its ability to create such a gripping experience within a single setting was hailed as an achievement in modern filmmaking. Mark Stevens' direction was lauded for his ability to get the most out of his actors, creating a film that was both emotionally intense and visually stunning. At the box office, Locked proved that intimate, character-driven stories could not only succeed, but thrive in an era dominated by blockbuster franchises and high-budget spectacles. Its success was a testament to the power of good storytelling, demonstrating that a film's emotional resonance and its ability to connect with audiences on a deeper level are what ultimately make it memorable. Over time, the film has continued to build a strong, dedicated fan base, with discussions about its themes, performances, and symbolism still alive in online communities and film forums. Its lasting popularity speaks to the timeless nature of its story and the universal truths it explores. But what truly makes Locked stand out is its emotional core. It's a film about facing the past and confronting the ghosts that haunt us, whether they be mistakes, regrets, or relationships that were left unresolved. At its heart, Locked is about the courage it takes to open up to another person, to be vulnerable, and to confront the emotional baggage we carry. The film doesn't offer easy answers or a neat resolution. Instead, it challenges its characters, and by extension, its audience, to reckon with the messiness of human life and the difficult, often painful process of healing. It's a film that doesn't shy away from the uncomfortable truths we all face, and in doing so, it strikes a chord that resonates long after the final scene. As we reflect on Locke's impact, it becomes clear that this film has not only shaped the thriller genre but has also had a profound influence on the way we think about storytelling in general. It has shown us that cinema doesn't always need to be grandiose or extravagant to make an impact. Sometimes, all it takes is a small, confined space, a couple of deeply flawed characters, and an exploration of the emotional depths that lie within us all. Locked has set a new benchmark for what it means to create tension, intimacy, and emotional resonance in film. For all its technical achievements and critical acclaim, Locked remains significant because of its humanity. It's a film about the struggle to escape the past, the difficulty of confronting our demons, and the hope for redemption. It's a story that we can all relate to, whether we've experienced the same kind of emotional turmoil as Eddie and Maya, or whether we've simply found ourselves at a crossroads in life, unsure of where to go next. As Locked continues to live on in the hearts and minds of those who have seen it, its legacy is far from over. Its influence can still be felt in films today, as filmmakers continue to explore the power of confined spaces, psychological drama, and character-driven narratives. The film remains a testament to the power of cinema to connect us to our own emotions and to one another, no matter how far removed we may feel from the characters on screen. It's a film that reminds us of the fragility of human relationships, the weight of the past, and the possibility of change. If you love this breakdown, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cinema. Let's keep exploring movies together.